This video is going to be a film study look at the defensive personnel that Kelvin Sheppard deployed in the first half of Saturday's preseason loss to the Dolphins, and how those guys, many of whom are veterans, playing with incredible effort, assignment based football, dominant against the run. They're generally second string guys out there, in some cases third string, but they're competing. Stops on the first four of the first five possessions for the Dolphins. They did give up a touchdown on mesh, which I'll have a standalone video out on that concept probably Monday morning. I thought this group, for the second week in a row, really shut down the running game completely for long stretches of time. I believe that Miami's first 8 runs netted them 9 yards and 1 fumble in the first half. Dynamic totally changed right in the second half. Miami does a great job of creating horizontal conflict, tremendous horizontal conflict, and you're going to see that by the nature of the first play that I show you here. The inside linebackers are playing well. Zach Cunningham, Grant Stewart, both of them had some moments where maybe they were slow to identify the over route on play action, but against the run, those guys are badass. It's really been the same dynamic in Detroit defensively since 2022 under Aaron Glenn the last 3 years. Stop the run, in some cases, absolutely annihilate it, shut it down, and then deal with the pass game once the other team becomes one dimensional. I'm going to go over a couple of unique looks that Kelvin Sheppard showed, particularly against 12 personnel, both of which I really call FU looks. And when Aaron Glenn ran them the last couple of years, they're really dramatically similar. All right, this is going to be the first possession. It's the second play of the game, I believe. It's a Joker's backfield set, so there's a tight end and an actual tailback in the backfield, along with the quarterback. So it's a quarterback and a running back to one side, tight end to the other. Here's the initial read. It's Muhammad, who I'm a huge fan of, and I think he's playing really well. Amazing effort, particularly the touchdown saving tackle later on in this film study look. Running back crossing the quarterback's face, so there's obviously a read here, and then the tight end is crossing underneath of all of that read action. We're talking about number 80, crossing in front of the quarterback tailback mesh. And essentially, you have what I call a dual read. They're both reading Muhammad, the quarterback, and the tight end. And in this case, since Muhammad steps down, that dual read creates a triple option, a third option here, if you will. And it's the tight end out in the flats. Zach Wilson kind of shovels it to him. And Grant Stewart, who I think stepped out of position briefly, then is able to recover with his quick speed and make a tackle for only a 4-yard gain. End zone angle of the same play, so you can see the concept. I call this Dolphins triple because they specialize in it. They've run it since really 2002, and I'm sure that Detroit 2022, excuse me. I'm sure Detroit saw this dual read in the joint practices. So Stewart's steps here kind of surprised me a little bit. But Muhammad once again is the read man, running back cross and face, and then tight end reading Muhammad in the same manner that the quarterback is at the same time. So they're taught to do this the same read, look at the same portion of the DN's body. There's the path of the running back and the offensive line blocking flow. It's just zone concept to their right. And there's the dual read nature of it. The quarterback and the tight end both looking at Muhammad at the same time, being taught to read the same thing. It's a drill period that they do every day. If let's say Muhammad was to step up field dramatically, which doesn't make sense from a technical standpoint, then theoretically the tight end would just loop underneath and he would go get the front side inside linebacker if you accept my assertion that this is a dual read. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's just called. I'm just opening your eyes up to the possibility that this is a dual read. It certainly looks like it to me. Stewart, you can see, is a little bit behind, but he's got the speed to catch up to the tight end here and hold him to a 4-yard gain. Still on the first possession, and this is a 3rd and 8. This is going to be a beautifully timed blitz by Zach Cunningham and Stewart. I call it Boom, the bull and the Mike, but the Lions, I believe, refer to Stewart and Anzalone as the will linebacker, so the terminology is probably radically different. I think Cunningham has got the ability to play in the regular season if you need him to. They're making no bones about it. What you've got here, it's a man-to-man coverage on 3rd down. Sheppard has used this a lot in the preseason to bring both inside linebackers. Sometimes they're crossing over. In fact, in the Chargers game, I talked about the mistimed nature of it. Basically, the will linebacker, Stewart in this case, being a little bit late to cross over. I think it was even Turner in the Falcons game as well. But it's all man down here, and great timing by Cunningham to get a hit on Zach Wilson. And Miami was very fortunate that this ball doesn't settle underneath of someone's arms and become an easy interception. But that's kind of what happens when you play a lot of man-to-man in those situations, a ball that's elevated in the air for a significant amount of time, you've got guys running with their back turned to the quarterback. I think that this is the 7th or 8th time that we've seen this dual inside linebacker blitz. Essentially, what I think is occurring here is O'Connor is occupying the center, and it kind of even like rip underneath a little bit and grab the arm here to essentially hold that center, occupy him, and then that creates the 2-on-1 for Stewart and Cunningham. Muhammad versus the left tackle, I'm going to be honest with you, out of all the guys that is out there, including Hassanin, the guy that I think could offer the most is Muhammad. Tremendous motor, a veteran guy. I think he's got less than 20 sacks in his career, don't get me wrong, but seems to play the game the right way, in my opinion. And he hung around after last year. You can see huge hit by Cunningham. Cunningham's a violent dude. He's a violent football player. He's been around. He's a veteran who's had a lot of experience and a lot of success, in fact, across various teams in the NFL, particularly the Houston Texans. I think he had over 100 tackles twice and approached 100 tackles a third time. He's been devastating, especially against the run. I think it's a superb pickup. In my opinion, he's the backup for Jack Campbell as the Mike. Tough, smart, very good versus the run. He's seen it all. He's an asset, in my opinion. Anzalone and Stewart over there on the other side, along with Barnes. But Barnes is more of a hybrid. Barnes can play Mike. He can play Will, which is Anzalone and Stewart. Or Barnes can play the outside linebacker edge position to the boundary, essentially the Sam linebacker. I think Cunningham can play, and he's been showing it pretty much every week. I think he's pretty much done for the preseason, though, in my opinion. Moving forward here, this is second possession. It's a YY trips, different names for it. So you got two tight ends on the field. They're both on the same side as a third receiver, a third eligible receiver. We're talking about number 84 right there. It's a 1st and 10. Really great job by Cooper on the backside, number 1. And then I think it's Chris Smith, 90. They're trying to scoop him, and they just can't get to him with the right guard, such that they're able to impact him. Muhammad also locked up with the tight end over here in the purple circle. If there's too many annotations here, my apologies. When I talk about a scoop, what I mean is this is Smith, and so this guard is trying to get to this side of Smith, such that the running back would possibly be able to cut it up since they cut off Smith, if you will. That doesn't occur. Smith does not let it occur. Number 1. Number 2, it's a nice job of force by Muhammad, who's extremely violent with the tight end. And then Cooper, that's a really intriguing prospect. I first looked at him, the first time I saw him play, I thought, okay, he's a D tackle. And I've seen him line up at D, and it feels like he's versatile, more so than many of the other guys that are in that tier of the Lions defensive line group. Look, the tracking that I had that I tracked live during the game had the Dolphins' first 8 carries for 9 yards and 1 fumble. Absolute annihilation of the run game for the second week in a row. Now, Miami does convert this one. It's a 3rd and 1. 12 personnel, twin wing pistol, but this is a great illustration of what Cunningham can do. He's the solo inside linebacker. This is one of the FU looks that Aaron Glenn has used for 2 or 3 years, and now Kelvin Sheppard'S seems to have adopted. It basically frees up Zach Cunningham. He's unblocked. Additional to that, Nowaski, who's had a pretty good preseason, if you ask me. A couple of coverage missteps, maybe. He's going to fold underneath. The running back gets credit for a yard here, but this tells you how difficult it was for Miami to get anything done on the ground. 12 personnel, 3rd and 1, and boom, Cunningham meets the guy pretty much right at the line. There's no forward momentum, and Nowaski folds in to get involved as well. I don't think we see Cunningham again in the preseason. He's just too damn good. When I say an FU look, what I mean is you've got all 3 linebackers lined up here, and then they're creating essentially a 6-1 look. Those either with experience going against the wing T, some will call it a 6-1 lightning. So Nowaski off this edge, Stewart off this edge potentially. What they're really doing is they're slamming Muhammad and O'Connor down, and that allows Cunningham to scrape over the top into the vacated space. The running back is reading this, hence the slight delay step to allow him to get downhill. Perfect fit by Cunningham, solid as hell. He's a really good football player, in my opinion. I remember when they signed him, I thought to myself, that's an asset that will create a shit ton of depth at a position where Detroit already has some, right? With Campbell, Anzalone, and Barnes, three really premier guys. I think the activity level of these veterans, Muhammad, uh, Nowaski, and then also Cunningham, is just really unique. They're playing at a really high level. They're giving Kelvin Sheppard pretty much everything they can on every single snap. Second possession, Miami goes 11 personnel. It's pro twins under center. Cunningham again. Now look, they just got beat by a play action pass the snap before, and I thought Cunningham was the culprit. I thought he bit heavy on the run fake, and then the over route beat him. Again, they've struggled with that since 2023 against the Seahawks, even before that 2022. This is Smith. He's going to win once again, but look at Cunningham's steps. He's like backing off as if he's reading pass, and I just don't see any pass read here. Keep in mind the play before he did get beat. The defense got beat by play action concept. Very rare steps from Cunningham that I think you could criticize. Certainly, he knows a whole hell of a lot more about the position than I do. But again, a win by Chris Smith, number 90, who's underrated. Hopefully, I got the name right. Underrated. That's the best that Miami could do, really, in the first half, and that was a 3-yard gain. I think the D line is winning a ton of their battles on the inside, a ton of their one-on-one battles. Interior guys, Smith, Adams. I thought Broderick Martin had a few real nice reps last week against the Falcons. Very well trained along the defensive line. I can't wait to see Reeder and Williams and McNeil together when he returns later on in the season. This to me looks like a very well coached group. For me, Adams is the guy that I like lower on the depth chart. He's the player that I have seen film of him performing, whether he was with the Seahawks or the Lions. O'Connor seems to show up around the ball also from a D tackle position. Cooper is the other guy. Tell me what Cooper is. Is he a D end? Is he a D tackle? Is he both? As I mentioned earlier, he seems tough enough and versatile enough to play a little bit of edge defender and a little bit of defensive tackle, which is very rare if you ask me. Second possession, this is just going to be a great hustle play by Muhammad from the top side of your screen. It's a third down, ends up basically being a stacked alignment down here for the Dolphins to the field. And so running a screen against man is a good idea, oftentimes, especially when you can get your offensive line out in front. My guess is that this motion, they had 2 plays called. If no one went with him in motion, then it was a zone, and they're going to run a particular play. In this case, since it's man, they're just going to go ahead and run the screen. That's just a hunch. I could be way wrong in that department. So there's the screen look. You're getting a really nice block down here on the outside corner. This offensive lineman is going to go pick up the other DB. You get a second offensive lineman, even a third out in front. Thankfully, Muhammad is absolutely busting downfield. Since Stewart, for whatever reason, can't finish the tackle, he's dealing with a lot of trash to try to redirect and reorient. Muhammad is the guy that really saves a touchdown, and he's not celebrating at the end of this play. He's pissed. I think he's just pissed they gave up a first down on a third down situation. Like I said, this is second possession. They had gotten a stop on the first possession. Of course, Miami goes down and scores here on the mesh concept. Still that same second possession. It's a first and goal. You can see the look that's been created by Detroit to answer or deal with the 2 tight ends that Miami's put on the field. Again, 2 tight ends on the same side. Slightly different than that YY alignment that I talked about earlier. This is Stewart's forced fumble. And it's not just a forced fumble here for real. It's the take on. This is violent as hell with number 80. You can see that 80 gets a good punch on Muhammad. And then Muhammad, who's clearly being held, if you ask me, Muhammad is being double teamed by the tackle and tight end. And then Muhammad will basically, as soon as the tight end peels off to go get Stewart, that's when Muhammad escapes and gets held as well. I just love the collision. I'm an inside linebacker guy, and Stewart is absolutely committed to whatever they're giving him to do. In this case, he destroys the tight end, forces the fumble. Muhammad's in there as well. Miami very fortunate, in my opinion, that this one didn't get recovered by the Lions, A, and B, possibly returned down the sideline. Same play from the end zone angle. There's the 2 tight ends. Stewart is here. You're going to get a double on Muhammad by the tight end and the left tackle. And I think it's great work by Muhammad, holding his ground as much as he can on the double combo and then trying to escape despite being held. I'm talking about this hand here by the left tackle. You'll see the attempt to grab and hold, and I think he's got Jersey right there. And that's why Muhammad's body lowers down. Forgive me, I'll slow this down a little bit. Sorry. I'm using a new player this season. I'm really committed to it. And sometimes I think when I slow down the video, things end up being a little staccato, or the frames kind of skip a little bit. My apologies for that. It's really the best I can do for the amount of money that this program was. Great play by Stewart, who continues to impress on special teams and on defense. We would call that technique knock it back, which just basically means you are in a contest with the lead blocker, the tight end. And I think Stewart is an interesting guy. I'm not sure that he's talented enough to really ever be a starter, just my impression. He's quick. And it seems to me that Stewart and Cunningham, their strengths and weaknesses mirror Campbell's and Anzalone's. Anzalone, right, clearly the best guy in coverage, in actual coverage, right? But all of those guys have had trouble at times with play action and the over concept that beats them from the opposite side of the field. That seems to be the route that has plagued this defense for a number of years. If you recall, I think it was Seahawks game 23 or maybe 22, one of those two. The tight ends in that game for the Seahawks were 9 of 9 on catches to targets. So you may recall that game better than I do, but in any case, my point is that to me is the concept, the only concept really, that this Lions defense needs to improve on long term. This is the touchdown on the same possession. Very next play, in fact, second and goal from the 11. I'm not going to really talk about this a lot. There's the diagram. You've got two drag routes, the orange and the yellow route. That's the outside receivers. The running back releasing out into the flat. Some people call it rail, whatever you want to call it. That's generally the side that really opens up. I'm talking about that yellow square there. Whatever side the running back releases to, it's normally the route from the opposite side, this one, that runs onto that vacated space, whether you're facing man or zone. And that's exactly the dynamic that occurs here. I'm talking about the NFL, college, high school football. That is the route on mesh that is the most dangerous, in my opinion, because it runs onto vacated space. Like I said earlier, I'm going to do a standalone video on that concept because it's been shown so much here in the preseason. We're going to move forward here, fourth possession, and this is a stand by the Lions defense. Pretty much I'll conclude it there. The fifth possession is late second quarter. After Tesla's touchdown, Miami only runs 2 more plays before the half runs out. So this is after Detroit's defense forced a 3 and out on the third possession. They get a stop down here inside the 10. Another FU alignment, if you ask me, meaning it almost kind of leaves an inside linebacker solo and basically says, we're going to outnumber you to the 2 tight end side. And it's almost bear-ish. I don't mean Chicago Bears. Well, kind of. I mean Rex Ryan 4-6 bear-ish, because this inside linebacker is left by himself in the middle of the field. The run play goes away from those 2 tight ends, so they've maybe actively deterred Miami from running the ball to that tight end side. It appears to me that maybe Rock Ya-Sin is on the boot, perhaps by the quarterback here, but everything else is really good. You've got 47 trying to get to the football. We'll give the end zone angle of this one in a moment. And the win is by Adams. Again, he's the most proven guy for me that I like, but I'm really intrigued by Cooper's talent. I don't really know much about him other than his film looks pretty damn good. Same play from the end zone angle again. This is a second down. And look how Sheppard has dealt with this. Again, very similar answer to what Aaron Glenn would often do against 12 personnel. So those are the 2 tight ends right there. And they've just overwhelmed them by putting 3 players over the top of them. That's a bear type of response. I actually, in high school, ran a version of the 4-6 bear about 40% of the time over a 2-year period. And this was a look that we went to occasionally. I just didn't ever really have enough faith in one single inside linebacker to leave someone alone like this, like they do with Turner. But it doesn't really matter because Adams wins at the point of attack. We're talking about right here. Drives that offensive lineman, I think it's the right guard, into the backfield, resets the line of scrimmage, gets his hips around, hands on the inside, sheds, makes the tackle. I think 50, another D-end is there. Just brilliant stuff, if you ask me, from Adams. And again, it's another example of an interior defensive lineman just winning his one-on-one and making a play. The run game dominance here, I think, is a huge story. Now, granted, these are all guys who aren't going to be starters, right? Second stringers, in some cases, third stringers. But it's the second week in a row. They've absolutely been lights out against the run. The Falcons 1 week ago in week one, because of course the Lions' first game was in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, and then here week two shutdown defensive performances against the run. I know Zach Wilson in the past game got some things going in the play action. It was that play action over concept that I've described a couple of times here. These guys can play, in my opinion. These veterans that are out here, do I mean they can start? No, but in a situation where you have an injury and you need a guy to come in for 6 or 8 or 10 plays or finish off a game, they've built quality depth here. I applaud Brad Holmes and a lot of these veterans, Rock Yassin and others, for being willing to kind of move positions and playing with such tenacity. Finally, 2 more plays here. This is the 3rd and 4. This should really be a touchdown, in my opinion. Zach Wilson just kind of misses him a little bit, or the receiver is late. The Dolphins are doing a nice job. They're faking this motion and returning the receiver to his alignment, but they've got the coverage revealed. It's man. It's kind of like if you ever watched Dexter, Dokes, like, surprise, motherfucker. Like, surprise. The Detroit Lions are playing man in a 3rd down situation in the red zone. I don't know why you had to do all this to try to reveal that. But in any case, the route that gets open is the yellow route from the outside receiver. So I'll move that forward a little bit so you guys can see the one I'm talking about. Here, kind of stutters a little bit, takes this over the top. Additional to that, focus on what the free safety is doing post-snap and how that kind of opens that part of the field up. He's absolutely eyeing the backside X. That's not uncommon. The Ravens used to do a ton of this under Wink Martindale, their former defensive coordinator that since moved on to Michigan. The free safety would eye the backside X, help out with any in cuts. In this case, really nice design by Miami, if you ask me. It's not an in cut. It's a whip route or a China route, whatever you want to call it. So the receiver's bringing his route in and then back here. So Detroit ends up wasting this free safety, whose eyes are now on the quarterback, and that leaves this route by, I think it's 86, absolutely wide open. Wilson just misses it. In my opinion, this should probably be a touchdown. With all that space in that yellow box. Nice design, like I said. This is classic. Just occupy the backside corner, run a climb concept over, whatever you want to call it, into the vacated space, over the top of the corner, deeper than the corner's pre-snap and post-snap delineation. It was a long way to go for this corner here. Like I said, I think this should have been a touchdown. Finally, the 4th down play. This is Uku's sack. How many sacks did he have? I seem to remember him with 2 other ones, but maybe my memory is obviously faulty here. He didn't get credit for 2. I know one of them was called back. This is an absolute win against the left tackle. Violent as shit and just shedding the guy, really upending his pad level completely. Additional to that, you get a read blitz by this inside linebacker here. So what I mean by that is he's reading this tight end's block. The tight end was to, let's say, release to the outside and run a route. Pittman, 41, would run with him. The tight end was to run a route there. Pittman would run with him. It's man. But since the tight end sits to block the outside linebacker, in this case, Nowaski, right here, then Pittman blitzes through the inside gap. It could be a tandem read where if that tight end delay releases, then Nowaski's got to take him. Additional to that, look at the depth of the free safety. It's the same route design. It's the same route design here. It's a different player running into that space, but the Dolphins, are trying to get 80 into that same space where the previous pass went. I would say it's very conceptually similar. The only difference is the free safety stayed on top a little bit more. Didn't come in front of the goal line, and didn't have his eyes on the backside X to the same degree. Moved on to the front side a whole lot quicker. So played it better, put himself in position, and Uku gets himself a sack. Give you the end zone angle so you can see just how violent it was by Uku. There's the win. He's kind of lined up in a little bit tight. It's another one of those one inside linebacker looks. I mean, once Pittman moves over so far, he's not distended, he's not lined up on the line of scrimmage. He's kind of reading it from his stance from depth. Pittman is on the running back. Turner, 47, is on the running back. Pittman would have been on the tight end. You can see the read and his reaction. As soon as the tight end steps to Nowaski, he's gone. But watch how violent Uku is with upending that left tackle, completely disrupting his posture, and then getting past him and hitmen basically meet at the quarterback. A beautiful display. I like this group. I really do. If you can't tell, I think this is a good group to have as backups. And it just tells me that Sheppard and his group on defense are, and his staff on defense, are coaching things the right way. These guys get after the football. I'm very blessed right now to be able to watch Ravens and the Lions defenses, and they're drastically different. The Lions have a lot of veterans on the defensive side. They really do. And the Ravens are full of rookies, UDFAs, younger players. It's just two totally different dynamics, but both of them are fun groups to watch for the same reason. They get after the football. There is absolutely no BS at all. My favorite here on this side is Muhammad. Him and Cunningham. I think Muhammad is underrated. He's been around, played well last year. I'm really glad that they kept him. It's not that I don't think Hassanin or Cooper or Ukwu can play. That's a good group. I think they're in the right spot from a depth chart standpoint. This defense, in my opinion, is in a great situation to play well this year. A lot of things hinge on the health and the performance of Davenport. I think that's clear. But additional to that, what Barnes is able to provide. I think he's an underrated player for this defense. We're not going to see him in the preseason at all, nor should we. To me, right now, it looks like Sheppard and the defensive staff are really doing a great job coaching and preparing. And because this group is lights out against the run, I think you're going to see the same dynamic in the regular season. That's what Detroit's defense has been able to give you the last 2 or 3 years with much the same personnel. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section. Again, this is a new player for me this year, so if there was any kinks here in what I presented, my apologies for that. If you enjoyed the video, please consider grabbing a link to it, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Finally, if you're not aware, I have a Discord that I make available for Lions fans, $4.99 a month. It's part of my Patreon. There's a link in the description. You can join the Discord to get access to, you can join the Patreon, and get access to the Lions Discord, which is a private community that's secure from trolls or any people from any other team fan bases. And so everything is positively oriented, talking about the teams, the players, and the schemes and the games that are coming up. So if you at least give consideration to supporting me in one of those 3 ways, either liking and commenting on the video or sharing the link out on social media, or if you so choose, joining my Patreon, which will get you access to the Discord, I would appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time.